All right, so I'll jump in and go ahead and get started. So first off, thank you for everyone who's joining today. We really appreciate you attending, and we have some great info for you. So to introduce myself, my name is Tim Clark. I'm the Senior Reputation Manager at SEOBlog. And to tell you a little bit about us, we have two primary objectives as a website. The first is we want to become the destination website for SEO professionals looking to improve their knowledge and get some in-depth information on how to grow their businesses by providing SEO services. And then also we provide a lot of SEO news, tips, and other educational content to educate novices all the way to experts. And we're also starting a newer initiative. We have a SEO agency directory that we organize by city, state, and specialty area so that we can connect buyers and sellers of SEO services and help people find reliable SEO help. And we provide unbiased reviews and agency rankings. It's a quick, free, and easy way for people to get all the information they need to create a short list when they have a digital marketing project. And so we're hoping to cover even more companies around the US. But to jump into the presentation today, I'm really excited to introduce our speaker. Valerie Jennings is the CEO and founder of Jennings Social Media and Martech. She founded that in 2003 at the young age of 24. And her agency represents small businesses all the way to global clients, from animal health to technology, automotive to manufacturing. And she's won a ton of awards. Just to share a few, the Folio Top Women in Media honoree, DMN National Marketer of the Year for 2020, DMN 40 Under 40 2018 honoree, Kansas City's Most Wanted 2015 honoree, and the Most Influential Women in Business class of 2014. She regularly participates in speaking engagements that reach young professionals and female youth through the Underground Social Organization and in area schools and chambers. And she's big into charitable giving, including Big Brothers and Big Sisters of Kansas City, the Boys and Girls Clubs of Kansas City, Pet Partners, Safe Home, City Union Mission, among many, many more. So again, excited to introduce Valerie, and I'll let her take it away. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim. And thanks for SEOBlog for hosting the webinar today. This is a great format to get new information out to people, and certainly with all the changes that are going on around us and in the business community, it's a good time to look at how we measure our marketing success, and then also just how buyer personas are changing in this current landscape. So we're pretty casual. If you guys want to type questions in, you can. I've also unmuted everybody. If you want to just hold questions to the end, that's fine. If you have an urgent question on any of the slides, just feel free to jump in. So I'm going to switch over to the presentation only. So 1 second. All right, hopefully everybody can see my screen. All right, so today we're talking about digital marketing and key performance indicators for 2020, and what a year to try to measure marketing success. All the benchmarks have changed because of our current landscape. Our personas have changed, and so for a lot of people, it's kind of been difficult just to get some sort of a baseline of where we should be performing. Obviously, market indicators affect our overall just revenue, performance, and sales for some industries, not all. Some industries have actually had a huge uptick in growth, while others have either declined or kind of stayed stagnant. So when we look at these key performance indicators and how we measure success for digital, it's even more critical right now. And also, we have to keep things in perspective. For a while, a lot of the social media platforms were just exploding. Everybody was on them. And then we saw a decline in engagements for a few months. And what we've seen trend-wise is things have started to balance out. And the holiday season is upon us. And so what does that look like? So I'm not going to be able to get through all of those big topics in this presentation. I'm going to touch on them, but again, the core focus really is how do we stay very neutral to everything that's going on around us and still be able to measure our performance and success. So today we're going to take a look at digital marketing KPIs in 2020. We're going to talk about what are benchmarks, how to integrate marketing with sales. That's a topic that comes up a lot. We'll look at a case study or two, and then we're going to also look at some Martech tools to help automate some of these processes. So I kind of touched on this already, but just to give you guys a quick snapshot, why does any of this matter? I mean, a lot of people think that, you know, it's difficult to get a sense of what is converting, but really with all of the automation tools and the real-time data that's available to us, we can capture quite a bit of information about our marketing performance. So, you know, measuring a key performance indicators, and we'll talk about what are some of your options to be measuring. It's healthy for your business and brand, because it's good for you to have perspective on what is performing, where you should perhaps test new advertising budgets or new programs. It's also healthy for the brand because you want to have an understanding of what messaging is resonating with your audiences. As I touched on, the digital landscape has drastically changed due to the pandemic. So we've got new people shopping online for the first time. We have certain personas of the marketplace deeply impacted by the recession. Others are kind of undisturbed, if you will. And so that is also going to affect how your content, how your advertising, your website is performing. Personas have changed. We did a huge audit just in the past few weeks about what do the new personas look like, and they're kind of all over the place. There are some just COVID specific personas which are interesting to look at, and there's also some research studies about, you know, what they're projecting that buyers are going to pull back on, what they're going to spend, what kind of shopping. But you have to keep in mind that with the pandemic, not every type of buyer has been affected. And in certainly the wealthier communities, they're largely unaffected. So we also have to focus on what does our geographic region look like? What type of the population are we talking about has been affected or not affected much? And buyer expectations have changed. This was a trend that was happening for quite some time, but certainly COVID has really solidified the expectations from buyers. One change that we've seen is now there's no more business to business or business to consumer, it's business to people. And we're all people, and we have certain expectations for our society, for our global environment. And so I referenced this Brand Z study. It is an excellent read. It's intensive. It covers a lot of ground. And it also factors in some of the changes from the pandemic and the recession. The top 100 global brands all grew during the shutdown, and they were growing regardless, but they have made themselves part of our everyday lifestyles. Things that are happening in our households. And so there's certain things that these brands that are doing that we all need to look at. Some of them is that just having a framework within your organization that you are doing good for society and humanity. I think most of us are already doing good things, and our businesses are involved in nonprofits and different local grassroots organizations, but we don't talk about it, or it hasn't become a core focus of our mission and our vision for organization, or even why we exist as a business. So there's 12 key action points within that Brand Z study that I highly recommend you look at. I also recommend that you look at page 57, which breaks down the different categories that you can participate in as a brand. The fact of the matter is, consumers are going to choose a business that's doing good for humanity over one that is not participating or not talking about participating. So all of these things affect our performance as a digital brand. And then creating trust among B2P audiences is critical. That's always been important, but now more than ever, it's extremely important. It's something that we need to strive to make a priority in all of our organizations. Really try to follow that 80-20 rule, where 80% of your content and messaging is about your audience, not about self-serving promotions. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next slide. So here we look at, and this is a Social Media Today source, here are some of the top KPIs for success. Leads. So, and we define leads as actual people or users coming to a website, filling out a form and saying, I am interested in getting a price quote, or I am interested in getting a proposal or setting up a meeting with your organization. That's how we define a lead. I know some other marketers define leads a little bit differently, but we look at it on very much this black and white scale. Qualified leads. So let's say a lead comes to your site and they say, hey, I'm interested in a price quote, but you find out they don't really have budget. So it's really just going through that qualification process. Return on marketing investment. It's pretty much what it says it is. Tracking referrals, people referring customers to you. Your brand awareness. Yes, this is important. I know this is a tough one for some CFOs, but the reality is that digital marketing is a split between lead acquisition and building brand awareness and trust. And so that brand awareness and trust may not be as easy to measure, because we can't always tell if we generated a sale or a lead from it. But man, it does play a critical role in driving those leads and qualified leads from advertising. Testimonials and reviews is pretty straightforward. Cost of a customer acquisition, and then customer lifetime value. What's the average life cycle and the cost for that customer over time? And here's some additional ones that I've added to the equation. Webinars, like what we're doing today. It's not as easy to get in front of people. I know we have more than enough webinars we can all sign up for, so I appreciate you guys joining us today. And quizzes, this is another great one. I've read some reports, some people feel very strongly that every business should have a quiz. Quizzes help us qualify people. They're also fun for users to take, and if you can make them fun and still get relevant data back, even better. But having some sort of a quiz that makes sense with your business is certainly worth trying. And new contacts. Right now, so important to be generating new contacts. And again, with the fact that we don't have as much opportunity to get in front of people looking for downloadable content, webinars, quizzes, just adding resources to your site and generating new contacts. I do not qualify a new contact as a lead. And especially right now, if somebody fills out a request for something on your website, maybe it's a brand guide or something, or a white paper, or a case study, that is not an invitation to try to cold call them, sell them on something. It would be nice to follow up and make sure they got everything that they were hoping to get out of your white paper or whatever, but it is not an invitation to start trying to sell them. And that is not where they're at in the buying cycle at that point. So let's talk a little about benchmarks. I think this is important because you can pull all kinds of data from different digital advertising platforms, but a lot of times our clients say, well, what does this mean? And where's the perspective in the context? So there are tons of benchmarks out there, benchmarks for social media engagement, impressions, click-through rates. There's loads of advertising benchmarks, and not just broad benchmarks, but benchmarks for your industry. And so if you're just starting out and you don't have your own benchmark data available from the previous month or the previous year, it's really good to look at these industry benchmarks. We tend to look at all of the above. We look at previous performance, month over month, last 3 months, we'll look at year over year, and then we'll also look at industry benchmarks. Here's an example of some Google advertising benchmarks. These are just national metrics. This is not specific to any sort of industry, but this is very helpful when you're trying to figure out how you're performing. How to integrate marketing with sales, goals, strategy, and reporting. This is something that comes up a lot. The way we integrate digital marketing in the sales teams is through CRM integration. And so making sure, so if we just work through this list here, that marketing and sales share common goals. There are going to be things that the marketing team works on that the sales team may not use. For example, social media posts driving brand awareness. Maybe the sales team doesn't necessarily need those materials, but we need to share similar goals. And these are the types of customers we're trying to acquire. These are the job titles. These are the numbers. These are our monthly goals. And even though, again, marketing doesn't necessarily call on leads, we have a role to play as a facilitator and a champion for our sales teams and making sure that we're having good conversations with them and getting feedback. Was this lead qualified? Were they actually looking to buy from us? And getting that feedback so we can pivot our advertising targeting. CRM implementation. This is so key that everybody has a common dashboard to look at so we can see where are the leads coming from, what channels, what advertising platforms drove those leads. Did they get followed up with in a timely manner? We always encourage the sales teams, hey, if you get a digital lead, follow up with it immediately. Try to follow up with them and as soon as you get it, and at least within the hour. But the longer you wait, your chances of closing that lead really kind of come to an end for you, because most of the time if people are looking to hire somebody, they're looking right now and they might fill out a request on several sites. So time is of the essence in these situations. Lead attribution, making sure that these leads are attributed correctly. Did they come from the website, Google Ads? One of the biggest gaps that we see are the phone calls. The phone calls that come from Google Ads, or just phone calls in general, for some reason don't seem to always get entered into the CRM. So really important that we're filling any of these gaps that are coming off of our advertising. Pipeline reports. This is a great high-level reporting tool where executives can kind of see where the sales and marketing performance is. And then reporting tools. A lot of the CRMs have different reporting interfaces that you can use. There's also some automated reporting tools out there that we'll take a look at later on in the deck. And then evaluate performance. Are we hitting benchmarks? Are we moving in the right direction of the sales goals that were set? And how's everybody doing? Sales marketing meetings. These are also important that we come together and have some sort of discussion. Our team typically works with the decision makers, the business unit leaders, or works directly with the sales team, so we can make sure that we're tracking on the same page. Here's a case study that I like to showcase. This is an aviation client that we've worked with for many years. And they do flight school, they do charter flights, they sell aircraft, they lease it. So it's a very complex business. And when we first started working with them, there was no integration of marketing or sales or of any of the business units, and there was no segmentation across various business units. Our goal was to grow the business. Our objective was to grow the business, and our goals were to generate leads and increase brand awareness across business units and channels. So we used multi-channel marketing. We set up their system on Zoho. We doubled the flying hours. We're generating regular inbound leads through the website for charter maintenance and even for leasing and selling aircraft. We've done that through social media content, brand awareness, social ads, and Google ads, and we've tried some other advertising platforms as well. We're currently fine-tuning our search engine optimization program. Here's some Martech tools. There are about 8,000 Martech tools in the marketplace right now. The ones that I source here are some of our go-to Martech tools. Google Ads, that one is pretty well known. If you want to test a quiz, Interact is one that you can do. It's affordable. They've got a scalable program. I think they have an option to test it for free if you just want to experiment with it. SEMrush is really amazing for getting an understanding of your competitors' keywords, what's driving traffic to their site and their paid search programs, and what paid search is driving traffic. And certainly if you're trying to reevaluate your goals for SEO, SEM, this is a really awesome tool to use to get some good benchmark and baseline metrics. Ahrefs is an incredible automation tool that looks at all of the technical issues that are going on with your website, and those technical issues deeply impact your search engine ranking. And so if you're trying to increase your key performance around website traffic and Google ranking, I highly recommend you run your website through the Ahrefs tool, send all of those technical issues to your development team and have them resolved. That is probably the #1 hindrance and biggest opportunity most businesses have to improve their SEO. Zoho, HubSpot are great. Zoho's great CRM tool. HubSpot is a great content management with some of the CRM integration. MailChimp is a wonderful email marketing tool, but they've also really expanded their product offerings over the years to be competitive. So if you're not using that, I highly recommend looking at it. Google Data Studio does require somebody with some technical knowledge to get it set up, but it is a nice dashboard where you can pull in your SEO, your paid search, your website performance, your social media performance. So if you have somebody on your team or work with a partner who can do it for you, that is a really nice program, again, for a high-level snapshot across performance. Agency Analytics is another platform that can automate your data and reporting. We use it primarily to look at SEO and paid search and just some of the social media advertising. The one thing with all of these reporting automation tools, check and verify your numbers. Make sure that the numbers you have been reporting on align with what these automation tools are saying. And always go back and check the original source whether that's Facebook Insights or Instagram or Google, just to make sure everything is apples to apples. And then if you are looking to do some data analysis, which Click is a great tool to do that. There's several others out there, but we've had lots of conversations with clients that it's probably a really great time to just review our existing customer personas, because things have changed, and to have an understanding of where they were before, where they are currently, where do we think they're heading. So that's one that you can check out. Social Mention is good for tracking brand. Kloop is a great AI tool for mobile advertising. Brand Watch Analytics, another analytics tool. BuzzSumo is also a great research tool. And then additionally, just to kind of wrap this up, and Neil Patel is one of my favorite digital marketing influencers, and these are some of his top metrics to just make sure you're tracking and growing traffic sources. This you can find in Google Analytics, or if you're using some other platform. Direct visitors, search visitors, referral visitors. So having an understanding of who's directly coming to your site, who's searching, or who's referring. New visitor conversion rate, return visitor conversion rate, interactions per visit, value per visit, cost per conversion, bounce rate is important to look at, and exit pages. So all really great advice from Neil Patel as well. So I went through this pretty quickly to save some time for questions. If people have specific questions about KPIs they're struggling with, or if you feel like you're measuring too much or you don't know where to start. So everybody is unmuted. And the chat is open if there are questions, or Tim, if you have questions too. What is the average bounce rate or good baseline rate to shoot for? So I think if you, for a bounce rate, if you can get within that sweet spot of 45 to 50 or 55, you're doing really, really well. If you start creeping into 65, 70, that's a little on the high side. So you would want to work to bring that bounce rate back down. Any other questions? All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. If you do have additional questions that you would like to have answered, feel free to reach out to me, and we'll also be sending a copy of the presentation and the recording out. But thank you for joining us today, and hope you got some value out of the presentation and moving forward with the rest of this year and into next year. And thanks again for joining us.